Bonjour mes amis, je m'appelle Tito, je fais des vidéos sur les finances personnelles sur mon autre chaîne, mais sur cette chaîne je parle d'autres choses comme aujourd'hui où je vais revoir le film Le Livre Noir, aka The Black Book.
After his son is framed for a kidnapping and murdered, a bereaved deacon takes justice into his own hands and fights a corrupt police gang to absolve him. The Black Book is directed by Editi Effiong and it's written by Editi Effiong and Bumi Ajayi.
Now, first of all, I need to warn you that this will be a spoiler-filled review because this movie, The Black Book, is on Netflix and pretty much everyone is on Netflix or at least has access to Netflix. So we're going to be talking about everything that we want to talk about in this review, which is great because there is actually a lot to discuss concerning this movie, The Black Book. So let's begin by looking at les performances. Now, I have to say that R&D was the main attraction for me concerning this film, or going in to see this film, I should say. I wanted to see how convincing R&D would be as an action star, especially since so many of you guys referenced Keanu Reeves and John Wick and Liam Neeson and Taken and Denzel Washington and Equalizer, you know, saying that this film, The Black Book, and R&D's character reminded you of those franchises and those actors, right? So I was going in hoping to see something similar from RMD. I don't know if I got that. I mean, he looked tough, you know, when he'd stand around and have dialogue with other characters in the film. Well, barely tough. He didn't really feel scary in most times, but I was really looking out for the action, the fight scenes, him handling a gun, him running from point A to point B. I don't think we got any of that, and it made the character hard to believe or hard to accept, you know? Yeah, so to be honest, me personally, I wasn't too impressed, and like I said, RMD's performance was the main thing I was looking out for. It was nice to see him do something different, and it was also nice to see this kind of thing come from Nollywood, but I wish there was more action in this action film from the lead actor. Ade Laoye. I don't remember. In fact, in this film, it's only R&D's character's name that I remember. I don't remember the names of any of the other characters. I don't know if you guys do. But Ade Laoye plays this young reporter whose mom was killed a few decades earlier, incidentally, by R&D's character. Ade's performance was good, but I feel it could have been better if the character was better, if we knew more about the character and the character's motivations. I feel like that character wasn't developed well enough. I feel like that character was just thrown into the mix kind of out of convenience, right? To provide that plot twist later on in the film where she realizes that this man who she's trying to exonerate is actually the man who killed her mother. So I think that's the purpose that character served, but I think that character we could have known more about her. Now, like, for example, she was so nosy and really trying to get a scoop and, you know, do all these things for her to progress her career or advance her career, I should say. But why? You know, why? And most of the times when she was snooping around, why was she snooping around? Like, even at the Reverend Father's office that time, you know, it just felt like something was missing with that character. And Ade is a fantastic actor and with many fantastic actors, it's how well you develop the character that they're meant to play that will determine how well they will perform for you, you know, in the film. So yeah, I think the lack of character development with that character that she played kind of didn't allow her to do as good a performance as she could have done, in my opinion. Sam Dede, magnificent, fantastic Sam Dede. Whew. From Brotherhood, yeah, let me not compare. I'll try not to compare. But at the beginning, Sam Dede looked the part. You know, he looked like the tough guy, the bad guy who was ruthless, right? But as the film progressed, the character looked more and more inept. Yeah, because even the beginning scene where they grabbed Nobert Young's character and the baby, it seemed very amateurish. Yet this was a squad of elite ex-soldiers headed by, you know, Sam Dede, who was, you know, the best of the best back in the day. It just that, you know, that what's the extraction? No, that wasn't an extraction, but that abduction or whatever in the opening scene seemed a bit sloppy. It didn't seem smooth, you know. So there was that. Also, when him and his squad go to RMD's character's house, Poledima's house, to I don't know what they plan to do. Whether I don't know what they plan to do to him. Whether they plan to grab him or they plan to kill him, whatever the case may be, it looked very sloppy when they went to his house. Especially when Sam Dede had RMD. RMD was on the floor. He had, you know, a gun to him and everything. And then he hears Ade's character, in the back. And then he was like, you still they do bushmeat. I was like, this guy better not turn his back on RMD. He knows that RMD is one of the best in the game. You don't turn your back on that kind of guy. But yet he turns to look at who is in the back. Like, that's relevant. That makes sense. And that's when RMD, you know, pulls a gun on him and, you know, has him essentially. So, I mean, not just Sam Dede's character. A lot of the characters in this movie, incidentally, felt rather inept and very like. Anyway, we'll get to that. But I believe I've made my point. Sam Dede he looked scary at the beginning, but as the film progressed, he looked less competent at his job. Shaffy Bello, I can't remember her character's name, but I do remember them calling her Big Daddy, and that was kind of cool. Shaffy Bello, this was a different role that Shaffy Bello has taken on from the roles I've seen her take on in the past. It was kind of interesting. I felt she could have been a bit more badass. I would have liked to have seen her, you know, in a fight scene, but it was okay. And surprisingly, from the people I've talked to on social media, people really seem to have enjoyed Shaffy Bello's performance rather, and her phrase, some of her catchphrases, like share the granite, or, you know, and one or two other things she said in the movie. So I thought it was all right, but like I said, people seem to really enjoy her performance. It was okay, and it was nice to see Shaffy Bello do something a bit tougher for a change. Kelechi Udebe, the awesome Kelechi Udebe, who incidentally was in Mami Water, which I reviewed 2 weeks ago. I don't know if you guys saw Mami Water at the cinemas. Kelechi Udebe, fantastic actor. He was the cop, right, who actually pulled the trigger on Olumide Oworu, who played the son of RMD's character, right? His performance was good. Not the best from him that I've seen, to be honest, but it was good. I would have liked him to have lasted a bit longer in the film rather than him being capped by Sam Dede's character in the movie. But there really isn't much to say about his performance. I'm trying to think about, the key things that he did in the film, but nothing really comes to mind. There are lots of other big stars in this film. I mean, Denola was in it. Bimbo Manuel was also in it. It was interesting to see Bimbo Manuel reunited with Ade Laoye. If you've seen Ayinla, they worked together in that film as well. I think Bimbo Akintola was also in the film. Nobert Young was in the movie. That was the aspect with Nobert Young and his character's baby. That was deep, man. Iretiola Doyle was in the film, and her ex-husband Patrick Doyle was also in the film. Have I mentioned Denola? He was in the film as well. It was a star-studded film. Hey guys, I'm interrupting this video really briefly to ask a quick favor of you. Please like this video and subscribe to my channel as well by clicking on the black subscribe button. I'm trying to hit 6,000 subscribers before the end of 2023, and only you can make that possible. So please, once again, subscribe to the channel by clicking on the black subscribe button. Thanks. Now let's head back to the review. Ce que j'ai aimé. I really liked the opening scene in this film. It was quite captivating. That abduction in Marina, right? From the onset, we're just taken in by the film. So that was really good. I also liked the pacing of this film. For the most part, the pacing was really good. It was like bam, bam, bam. Things were moving at a good pace for the most part. Towards the end, I felt like, it was a bit off. I liked the aerial photography or the aerial shots in this film. There were lots of them, aerial shots of Lagos, of the port, of the wharf. Kaduna as well had some aerial shots. They looked really nice. Something about the aerial shots in this film just really looked so attractive, and it made us kind of appreciate Lagos and Eko in a different way. I also liked the shot composition, particularly in the scenes in the first half of the film, and especially after RMD's character loses his son. Those points where he's grieving and he's just at a loss, right? I like how he was placed in the frame. I like how things were placed and positioned in those images. Finally, I liked the production design. Well, the set design, I like the way the sets were arranged and, stylized, but I like the production design, which is all encompassing. Set design is part of production design. The production design of this film was very intentional. It was very good. I remember a scene where Ade Laoye's character goes to go and see R&D's character at in the prison. Well, yeah, when he was in prison after he assaulted policemen at the police station, and it was quite good. I was told from a reliable source that prison scene, when she was walking in and the prisoners were reaching out to grab her and they were catcalling her and all that, that was like a built set, but it looked so authentic. So yeah, the production design was really good. A brief anecdote, right? The production designer of this movie was Pat Nebo. Sadly, Pat Nebo passed away just a few days before this movie came out. And at the private screening of the film on Thursday the 21st, the day before the movie came out, Editi Effiong, the director of the movie, asked Pat Nebo's family members to come out so that he could recognize them and so that he could say some, kind words about their father and his legacy and all that. And I thought that was quite touching. Ce que je n'ai pas aimé. RMD didn't seem entirely believable as a man with a unique set of skills that was capable of doing the things that his character did. I don't know if you get my point. I mean, he sounded like a tough guy. There were points where he'd stand, and during dialogue he sounded like the part, but I don't know if he looked the part. And I think it's because we didn't get to see a lot of hand-to-hand combat from him. We didn't see him like handling a weapon much. We didn't see him like training to get ready, to get back in shape, or to get ready to take down these guys. I know that would have been a bit of a cliche and all that, but I don't know, there are certain things you just expect to see in an action film, especially one of this nature. Sadly, he didn't seem very convincing as an action star, who was able to do the things that his character apparently did. Secondly, Ade Laoye's character, I felt there could have been more development there, especially seeing as the character was so integral to the film. The whole final act of the movie was kind of because of her. They go to Kaduna to go and rescue her. Once we find out that she's the daughter of somebody that R&D's character assassinated and all that, it felt like there was something missing with that character. Next, the dialogue in this film at certain points didn't feel organic. There are parts where they were talking in a very cool-headed manner. When I felt like those moments of dialogue should have been more heated, perhaps, or perhaps instead of speaking English, it would have been better if they spoke Pidgin or Yoruba or something like that. The dialogue just wasn't hitting home at different points in this film for me. Another thing is there's a number of things that conveniently happen off screen in this film. They don't show us, they just want us to imagine it. Like, for example, how he grabbed Kelechi Udebe's character and the other policemen that were behind his son's death. How did he get all of them? We see him go to the brothel where he knocks out Kelechi Udebe's character, and then somehow he gets into his hideout, and then also he gets the other officers to the hideout. How? You're one man, you're a senior citizen. How did he how did he grab grown men in the force and get them to his hideouts, and they're all conscious and all that? Another thing is how did he even find them? How did he even know that these were the officers involved? Who were the witnesses at the scene that let him know that these were the officers involved in his son's death? Maybe he got his hands on the reports and he saw the officers. Maybe that's it. Yeah, okay. You don't catch me. Maybe that was it, but still, how he grabs each of them and gets them to his hideouts, I wish they had shown us something. Next, too many characters were randomly being introduced at some point in this film. All of a sudden, you hear one name like Dimbo and Dikpo and Richard. Well, we knew who Dikpo was. That was Patrick Doyle's character. But names are just popping up at certain points, and you'd be like, wait, who is this person? What role do they play in the film? And that's another thing. It felt like steps were being omitted at certain points. Like they went from here to here, but in between, there should have been something that wasn't there, that was omitted. So I was a bit lost at different points in this film, I cannot lie. Next, many characters in this movie felt rather inept. Sam Dede's character seemed inept from even the abduction at the beginning of the film, and when they went to Paul Edima's house to grab him, that whole operation was very tacky. wacky. He took all of them out. Denola Gray's character was rather inept for somebody that was built up to be this hitman, the hitman's hitman, the number one guy. He was just taken out just so easily in the stairway of a building, and we don't even know who took him out. I don't know. Do you guys know who was responsible for taking the guy out? Also, the hit squad, all the numerous hit squads that went after Poledima, all of them inept. The general himself seemed rather inept because in the 80s, when Poledima surrenders, younger Poledima surrenders the black book to the general, why on earth didn't he destroy it? Why did he keep it? For what purpose? And that's just one instance. Generally, the guy just seemed inept. Another thing I didn't like about this film is the fact that there wasn't necessarily a money shot. There wasn't a scene that really sticks out, when you're done watching the film. I mean, think of films like Brotherhood and Gangs of Lagos. Brotherhood, the money shot in that film could have been like when Tony Tones was on the bike with Toby Bakre, or when Toby Bakre's character like fell off the bridge, or when the police car was flipped at a coal. Plenty money shots in that film. King of Boys, well, at least the series, I can't remember the movie that much, but the series, the money shot for me, which I will barely ever forget, is the whipping scene when Shola Sobowale was whipping herself after dipping the whip in pepper. There are just memorable scenes, in these films that maybe now are Nollywood classics. This film is worth being a classic, at least for one of the films, or one of the notable films in recent years, but it doesn't have a money shot. Looking back at this film, there's no one scene that really stands out or that had my jaw on the floor while I was watching this movie. Lastly, this film, there are just so many questions, so many unanswered questions rather. For example, that safe in Kaduna, was it really relevant? In fact, the whole Kaduna portion of the film, like why? The general was initially in Lagos. Ade Laoye's character gets grabbed, then she's taken to Kaduna. The general himself, who was initially in Lagos, now goes back to Kaduna, gives Poledima 24 hours to come to Kaduna. What for? What do you need him in Kaduna for? You have everything. You have the black book. You have the girl. Why do you want him? You can easily you knew where he was at that point in time. You could have sent a squad to take him out. Why did he want Poledima to come to Kaduna for what? Finally, the biggest question of all for me in this film, when they were captured, Ade Laoye's character and RMD's character, and then Sam Dede puts the weapon in her hand and she points it at RMD's character. The weapon goes off. RMD's character reacts, suggesting that he got hit. But after that, there's no reference to the wound, the gunshot wound or the bullet wound. And they don't tell us that it didn't get in, that he wasn't hit. But from all indications, for what we saw, he got hit. But we don't see, after that, when he's freed and he sits beside the general by the pool, he's not holding his torso, he's not bleeding, nothing. So what exactly happened? Was he or was he not hit? And that whole scene, as in, they had so many opportunities to take the guy out. He was just there. The general could have done it. Sam Dede could have done it. Ade Laoye's character could have done it. The goons that the general told to take him out could have done it, but those ones, they dropped their guns and they fled. Too many unanswered questions. Too many unanswered questions. In conclusion, this was a very impressive film. However, I think if they had spent more time on story development and paying attention to the minor details, this film would have scored so many more points. Instead, it seems as if they focused on certain scenes and certain characters that didn't necessarily matter in the grand scheme of things regarding this film. And it's a bit painful. Another thing that really pained me, like I said earlier, is the fact that there are no memorable scenes in this movie. When I think about this film, The Black Book, there are no scenes in particular that come to my mind. I mean, I really wish that RMD's character and Denola Gray's character had a hand-to-hand combat scene, at the end of which RMD's character takes out Denola's character. That would have killed two birds with one stone, because that would have given Denola's badass character a befitting end, plus it would have given us something iconic. I mean, imagine RMD and Denola hand-to-hand combat, convincingly as well. That would have been mind-blowing. But hey, we didn't get that. Another interesting thing about this film is how much it costs, allegedly. Yeah, word on the streets is that this movie cost around $1 million to make. And if you look at the list of executive producers of this film, it's not hard to believe that rumor, right? I mean, you have people like RMD himself is an executive producer. The director Editi Effiong is an executive producer. You have Oduwewini, Bieno Setito, Ovia, Shubomi Plumter, Kola Oyenei. I hope I got his name right. There's some notable names in there. Olumide, I can't pronounce his surname, so I won't try. There's some bigwigs there. So this film probably did cost that much. And the gist about it costing that much, $1 million, has actually gone round. And I've talked to a few people, and they've said that they can't really see where all that money went to when they watched that film. And I kind of agree. Because I was looking like, okay, what did they spend a lot of money on? Yeah, shooting or filming, rather, I should say, at Marina would naturally cost money. Filming on Lagos Island too would cost money. Filming in Kaduna too cost a bit of money. But these are all just, what was the tent pole or the really big, scene or elements that, because when you spend a lot of money on something, you want people to know that you spent a lot of money on this particular thing. Like if you renovate a house or you build a house, maybe you spend a lot of money in the kitchen, such that when you're taking people on a tour of the house, they look around in that kitchen and they know that a lot of money went into that kitchen. Watching this film, one can't really say where exactly the money went, and I think that's a challenge. If that gist of how much this film, or that rumor of how much this film cost didn't go out, I think people would have been less critical. Well, people aren't really that critical about this film. Maybe I would have been less critical about this movie. Yeah, let me end it here before I say more than I'm supposed to say. A jollof rating for The Black Book. I will give it 2.5 jollofs over 5. I want to give it 2 jollofs, but I'm being influenced by so many people liking this film that I don't want to be on anyone's black book. So I'll just give this movie 2.5 jollofs over 5. What did you guys think about The Black Book? Let me know in the comment section down below. Were you impressed? Were you convinced by the performances? Were you lost at certain points like I was? Let me know what you thought about The Black Book in the comment section down below. Did you think it was worth $1 million? Let me know in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed this review, guys, please like it by clicking on the like button underneath the video, and subscribe to this channel as well by clicking on the black subscribe button. Many of you are watching or being introduced to me for the first time by nature of this review being about The Black Book. Don't just leave without subscribing. I do lots of Nollywood reviews. You've seen other films like Jagun Jagun, which is another Netflix film that came out not too long ago. Some cinema movies as well. I do pretty awesome Nollywood reviews, if I do say so myself. So please feel free to subscribe. It costs you nothing. Just click on the subscribe button at the bottom underneath this video, and be sure once again to like it by clicking on the like button. On this channel, I don't just do Nollywood movie reviews. I also talk about relationships, and I have an awesome podcast called the 30-Minute Podcast. To check out some of my past Netflix reviews, my past Nollywood reviews, or my podcast, you can click the card in the corner of the screen and you'll get a playlist of all those things. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really enjoyed this. Remember to let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below, and I'll catch you guys in the next review, which should be of the new Inkblot film, A Weekend to Remember. Oh, sorry, A Weekend to Forget. Thanks for watching, guys. Catch you in the next one.